My wife was incredibly cold. In 50 years of marriage, she never once said she loved me. Until the day I was 70, drawing my last breath, I forced out one last smile and asked her, "In these 50 years, have you ever loved me for even a single day?" Seeing her hesitation, I already had my answer. I glanced at the descendants Licia and I had through the haze, and said my final words to her. "If I could do it all over again, I would never want to love you again." With that, I closed my eyes and lost consciousness. When I woke up again, I had actually been reborn back into my high school days. In this life, I decided I would never get involved with Licia again. But 3 months before the college entrance exam, she suddenly transferred to our class. She even insisted on being my seatmate. Subconsciously, I moved my chair, wanting to get away from her. But she suddenly grabbed my collar. "Yang Jin, why did you die so soon?" I haven't even answered the question you asked me. I familiarized myself with this young body, and looked at the classmates around me listening intently to the lecture. This wasn't a dream. Perhaps it was because of the intense desire I held when I died in my past life. I truly had been reborn. Since heaven gave me such an opportunity, then in this life, I will never provoke Licia again. In my previous life, because the Li family's company encountered some difficulties, they proposed a union with my Yang family. It was a way to cooperate with my family's company. Licia was a famously talented girl, a top-tier scholar. Later, she even became an international violin master. I, on the other hand, was the type of slacker who sat in the back row by the window. I barely got into a third-tier college. After graduation, I followed my family's arrangements to learn the ropes at the family company, and then take over my father's position. Because Licia was beautiful and sensible, my father readily agreed to our marriage, and I was more than happy about it. But at that time, Licia had someone she liked. The Li family forcibly broke them up, and made Licia marry me. Licia was never happy after the marriage. No matter how well I treated her, or how much I did for her, she never once gave me a smile. That's why I asked her on my deathbed if she had loved me for a single day in 50 years. There was no tangible proof of love. Spending 50 years still couldn't move her heart. In this life, I won't bother her anymore. I won't interfere with the cooperation between the Li and Yang families, because in a few years, the scale of the Li family's company will grow beyond expectations, and the Yang family will benefit greatly from it. So there's no problem in collaborating with them. I won't obstruct it. It's just that they don't need to sell their daughter to me. What I need to do in this life is to make the most of my time to study and make up for the regrets of my past life. Then, using the knowledge accumulated over the next 50 years, I will fulfill my father's wish to take the company's products to the international stage. So, during this period before the college entrance exam, I studied like crazy. My classmates were shocked to see me acting like a different person. "Yang Jian, you don't go play basketball after class anymore, and you don't go play games after school. Are you possessed by a ghost? I've traveled back from 50 years in the future. Not getting into a top university was a regret in my past life, so I'm going to make up for it." My classmates naturally thought I was a psycho, a bottom-tier student from the back row, thinking they can get into a top-tier university? Purely a pipe dream. Half a month later, my dad called and told me to come home early after school. There were guests coming tonight. He also told me to buy some gifts that girls would like. I knew Licia was coming. In my past life, I thought since we were still high schoolers, lipsticks or bags might not be appropriate. So I went to great lengths to buy several large bags of gifts. There were plushies, handicrafts, everything you could think of. But Licia just gave them a cold glance and said, "Childish. Being with someone like you in the future, I can hardly imagine how miserable life would be." In this life, I still bought several large bags, but they were even more childish. Remote-controlled cars, Barbie dolls, and so on. Almost all of them were toys for little kids. I lugged the bags of gifts back home. When my dad saw me return, with so many things in my hands, he quickly winked at me. Then, pretending not to know, he said, "Son, this is your first time meeting Xiao Ran, and you brought her so many gifts. How come I've never seen you put this much effort into me?" I didn't bother to respond to him. I just carried the large bags into the living room, carelessly dumping out the toys inside. A wheel even fell off the remote-controlled car. I wiped my hands and said to the cold Licia, "No, my dad told me to bring you gifts, but time was tight. I just bought these at a roadside stall. Otherwise, I would have gone to a big supermarket. The quality would be better there." My dad saw this floor full of toys for 3-year-olds, and almost picked up a slipper to hit me. But I wasn't afraid. In my past life, I was 70 years old. My dad is currently not even 40. Technically, I'm the elder here. I lay back on the sofa with my legs crossed, and just like before, spoke in the tone I used to lecture my grandson in my past life. You're a grown man, acting like you have no dignity at all. How scandalous. My dad, Licia, and her parents were all stunned. After a moment, my dad laughed awkwardly. Well, my son and I have a great relationship. Normally, we don't watch our words when no one else is around. It's because he doesn't see you as outsiders. Hearing this, the parents' faces lit up with smiles. Only Licia kept a straight face. She thought that in this life, I would still be willing to become family with her. In this life, I don't want to waste 50 years on someone who doesn't love me. I walked up to her and said coldly, "Since you don't like the gifts I bought, then I'll just take them back and play with them myself." As I said that, I prepared to pack them up. As a result, she snatched a Barbie doll out of my hand. She showed an unprecedented, radiant smile that I had never seen before. "I like it very much." I was utterly stunned. She smiled at me. How is that possible? This was the first time she had smiled at me in the 50 years I'd known her. Could it be she's not the real Licia? Or was she possessed by someone? Or maybe, did the Barbie doll really hit the right chord? I was too lazy to think about it. Regardless of what happened to her, I won't have any intersection with her in this life. Sorry. This Barbie doll was actually something I bought for myself. The rest are yours. I thought this would make Licia angry, and we would end up never speaking again. Unexpectedly, she held those toys I bought, with a trace of a smile still on her face. In my past life, I bought her jewelry worth millions, and she wouldn't even say a word to me. Could her hobby really be these children's toys? I found her behavior completely irrational. Dinner began. My dad and her parents were trying their best to match us up, but I remained indifferent. Although she didn't speak, I knew she was very resistant in her heart, because she had a childhood sweetheart she grew up with, who was a year younger than her. In my past life, I heard she planned to confess to him. As soon as they graduated from high school, my appearance broke them apart. So in this life, I'll let you two be together. I only hope to have no connection with Licia ever again. Until midnight, when her family of 3 was about to leave, I hadn't said a single word to her. My dad dragged me to see them out to the door. Licia suddenly said she forgot her backpack, that it was left on the sofa. My dad told me to go get it. I very reluctantly helped her bring out the backpack. When I handed it to her, she said in a calm tone, "Thank you." She actually said thank you? This really was the biggest joke I'd heard in 2 lifetimes. My expression remained cold, ignoring her completely. I turned around and went back to my room. Behind me, I heard my dad desperately explaining, "He's just been in a bad mood lately. He's usually not like this. Please don't let this affect the marriage between our 2 families." The next day, I went to school as usual. But halfway through the first period, the homeroom teacher announced a new student was joining us. Then she walked in. I stared straight at her, because the new student was indeed Licia. After the teacher gave a brief introduction, she told Licia to sit in the front row. Licia's grades were among the best at her previous high-ranking school, so the teacher arranged for Licia to sit next to the class president. Who would have thought Licia would shake her head and walk straight toward me? Then she reached out her hand to me, and with a polite face said, "We meet again. Can I sit next to you?" I was stunned. She was talking to me? Before I could think, Licia asked again, "Yang Jian, can I sit next to you?" The teacher also came over at this time, and quickly told her, "Yang Jian is a bottom-tier student. Don't sit with him. Go sit with the class president. The president is ranked first in the whole school. You can study together. It'll be mutually beneficial." I didn't get angry hearing this. After all, it was the truth. In high school, although I wasn't a bad kid, I used to skip classes whenever I felt like it, and just loved playing basketball. Licia rejected the teacher, smiling at her. "Thank you for the kind offer, teacher. But I'll sit with Yang Jian. He and I know each other." The teacher frowned, then glanced at me. "Don't you dare affect her studies. Licia's grades are good enough to aim for the top scholar spot." In my past life, although Licia wasn't the top scholar, she was still remarkably successful. The reason her success was somewhat fleeting was because of the engagement to my family. It separated her from her childhood sweetheart, causing her to underperform during exams. That's why the teacher treats her like a treasure. If Licia becomes the top scholar, the teacher would indirectly gain prestige. their value would double, and their reputation in the school would soar. But none of this had anything to do with me. In this life, I just want to get into a good university, study finance properly, and then use 50 years of experience to take my family to the next level. Thinking of this, my face turned cold. I directly reached out to block the seat next to me. I'm used to sitting alone. I don't want anyone sitting next to me. Furthermore, classmate Licia, I didn't know you before. We only met once last night. Go find another seat, lest I affect your studies. The class went silent for a moment. No one expected that I would reject such a beautiful campus belle-level girl. Licia's expression froze for a second, but she quickly recovered. The high and mighty, overbearing look I was familiar with. She put her backpack directly on the desk, pushed my hand away, and sat down. This seat doesn't belong to your family. I'll sit where I want. This side of her I had faced for 50 years. Seeing it now, I felt incredibly uncomfortable. I don't know how I endured it for 50 years in my past life. I slammed my book onto the desk, giving her a start. Fine. Sit wherever you want. I have no right to interfere. After saying that, I packed my backpack, picked up my things, and walked straight to a seat next to the trash can. Because it was always near the trash, there was a bit of a smell. There was a seat, but it was used to store miscellaneous items. I pushed the junk aside, put my backpack down, and then picked up the basketball from the floor. I waved to a few of the kings of the back row by the window. They understood instantly and followed me out to play ball. Behind us, the teacher's angry shouting could be heard from the classroom. I played basketball with them all morning. At noon, after finishing the last game, I was about to go buy some ice water. Suddenly, a figure approached and stuffed a bottle of water into my hand. Here, it's not cold. You shouldn't drink ice water right after exercising. Several classmates watched closely, giggling. Brother Jen, I didn't realize you were this charming. We're so jealous. Yeah, and it's room temperature water. How considerate. I glared at them fiercely. Don't talk nonsense, or next time I'll give you a slam dunk on your heads. Then I looked at Licia, my expression turning cold again. No thanks. I'm used to drinking ice water. Classmate Lee, although our families have business ties, let's just forget about what my dad said. I know you have a childhood sweetheart. You have a great relationship. You really like him. And I'm not interested in you either. So there's no need for us to get to know each other. I'll explain it to my dad when I go back. It won't affect the business collaboration between our families. This is better for both of us. After saying that, I handed the water back to her, picked up the basketball and left, rather than getting entangled and ending up like my past life where I couldn't even die in peace. It's better to draw a line early on. I reached the bus stop, getting ready to board. Licia came running from a distance, grabbing me with a livid face. I knew she was angry because I had just rejected her water. Just as I was about to shake her off, her strength suddenly surged. She pinned me against the bus stop sign, grabbing my shoulders with both hands. In a slightly resentful tone, she said, Yang Jian, don't think you're the only one who's been reborn. If you keep treating me like this, believe it or not, I'll tell your dad that you're bullying your future wife. My mind suddenly went blank. Licia was also reborn? Seeing me stunned and speechless, Licia continued, Yang Jian, I am your wife. In 50 years of marriage in our past life, you couldn't even bear to raise your voice to me. In this life, tell me, from yesterday to today, how many times have you been mean to me? Looking at her tear-filled eyes, my brow furrowed. She really had been reborn too. But from our first meeting yesterday until now, all her actions didn't seem like the Licia from my past life at all. It was as if she'd been replaced by someone else. I couldn't figure it out, so I stopped trying. Since we've both been reborn, then let's each make up for our own regrets. In her past life, she was separated from her sweetheart, forced by her family to marry me, and was unhappy for her entire life. In my past life, I married a woman who didn't love me, and my dad died from exhaustion over company matters. In the end, besides dying with my eyes open in regret, I also failed to fulfill my father's dying wish, to take the company's products global, carrying that regret for life. I looked at Licia and said solemnly, Licia, since you've also been reborn, that's all for the better. In this life, I won't get in the way of you and your sweetheart. There's no need for you to approach me, just to get your family to cooperate with mine. You stayed in my family for so many years in your past life. You know my dad and I aren't that kind of people. Besides, you were a business queen in your past life. Even without my family's help, the knowledge you have is enough to make you successful again in this life. Finally, I took a deep breath. I had loved this woman for 50 years, after all. It did hurt a bit to let her go. But, goodbye. After saying that, I prepared to turn and leave. At that moment, someone on a modified scooter stopped in front of us. The person on the loud scooter took off his sunglasses and grinned at Licia. Shia, sis, I'm here to pick you up. I told you. Why did you have to transfer schools? Now I have to drive an extra half hour every day to get you. I recognized this punk youth. It was none other than Licia's sweetheart, Du Zeding. His family started out with an electronics factory, but they lost a lot later on, and the factory remained mediocre. Still, they were much wealthier than ordinary families. Licia's father was an original partner in that factory, though he later withdrew his shares. Naturally, Licia and Du Zeding grew up together. Because Du Zeding's father's business was failing, he gradually stopped supervising his son. So Du Zeding ended up hanging out with some street punks, becoming a typical delinquent youth. But he was actually quite good to Licia. He didn't drag her into his world of delinquency. Perhaps in Licia's eyes, this was the reason she could never forget Du Zeding. Even though he became a punk, he couldn't bear to hurt Licia or let her become a bad girl. At this point, Du Zeding and I didn't know each other, and I didn't want to. I glanced at him and turned to walk away. Behind me came Licia's small voice. Yang Jian, you bastard. While waiting for the traffic light at the intersection, I subconsciously looked back and saw Licia getting onto Du Zeding's scooter. I looked up at the midday sun. His glare brought tears to my eyes. What love over time? What staying together through thick and thin? It's all nonsense. I gave my heart and soul to love her for 50 years. Now that we're reborn, 50 years of feelings still can't compare to a childhood sweetheart. Returning home, I took a few days off. I didn't want to go to school. Seeing this, although my dad was angry, he couldn't win against me. Because my mother died early, he still spoiled me, his only son. After resting for a few days, I told my dad I wanted to transfer schools. My dad looked at me seriously. The college entrance exam is almost here. Why are you transferring now? And your fiancée specifically transferred from the top high school to be in your class. If you transfer now, what about her? I sighed helplessly. Waving my hand, I said, when did I ever agree to this? I told you I don't like her, and she has someone she likes, and it's not me. Forced love won't be sweet. If you keep forcing me, I'll jump off this 3rd floor and go find my mom. Although this villa only has 3 floors, it's still over 10 meters high. If I fall headfirst, there's no question. The Grim Reaper would surely come for a visit. Every time I threaten my dad with my mom, it works. This time was no different. He could only agree. Fine, fine. Calm down first. I'll look into schools for you. I finally gave my dad a smile. Now that's my good old dad. Don't worry, once I transfer, your son will get into a top university, study finance hard in college, and come back to help you build the business. Mom's spirit in heaven will bless us father and son to keep rising. My dad was incredibly moved, holding me and crying for a long time. But the very next day, my dad betrayed me. Licia came to our house. She pushed open my bedroom door. She stood there, staring at me. I was still sleeping. When I groggily opened my eyes, I saw her skillfully walk to the window and pull the curtains wide open. Sunlight immediately flooded in, stinging my eyes so much I couldn't open them. I glared at her with some anger. Licia, have you lost your mind? This is my house, and you broke into my room. What are you trying to do? Your house? Your room. I lived here for 50 years. This is my house too. She spoke in the same tone as in our past life. In our previous life, we lived in this house after we got married. So my room naturally became our wedding chamber. She directly opened my wardrobe, pulling out the clothes and underwear I usually wore. Licia, what is wrong with you? Licia looked at me, stroked her chin and smiled. So you've had this sleeping habit since now. I thought, get out. Get out? I'm not going anywhere. Listen, I suppressed you for 50 years. Even though we're reborn, do you really think you can escape my grasp? Licia looked at me with a smile, which only fueled the anger in my heart. Not long after we married in our previous life, I knew she didn't love me. I suggested a divorce. but she refused on the grounds that she was pregnant. She also said that this was our life now, and we should just make the best of it. But now heaven has given her a chance to not have to be with me. Why must she still cling to me? Licia, doing this will only make me despise you. It will only make me grow to hate you. After I said that, she froze. I ignored her after that. I put on my clothes and pants as usual, then opened the door to leave. Unexpectedly, Licia hugged me from behind. Yang Jian. I'm sorry. The question I didn't answer in our last life. I'll answer it for you in this one. I didn't give her a chance to finish. I pulled her hands away. You don't need to say it. Before I died in our last life, I already knew the answer. I loved you for 50 years. I'm done now. Please, just let me go. I turned to look at her. In this life, can we just be the most familiar of strangers? We are still young now. Only 18. There's a long road ahead. Slowly, you will forget me. Someone you don't love. You had regrets in our last life, and so did I. In this life, let's go make up for our respective regrets. Can we? Licia shook her head rapidly while crying. No. You are my husband. Can you really give up 50 years of feelings? I swallowed hard, bitterness in my throat. To say I wasn't reluctant at all, that would certainly be impossible. But I don't want to repeat the same mistake. I can. Licia wiped away a tear. Finally, her gaze turned firm. I know you don't believe me. In our last life, you were good to me for 50 years. In this life, it's my turn to be good to you for 50 years. No matter what I said, she wouldn't budge whether I was kind or firm. But I couldn't possibly believe her. We've both been reborn. How could she not go looking for her long-cherished childhood sweetheart? After Du Zeding went downstairs, my dad saw me coming down with Licia. He immediately beamed with joy. Come, son, daughter-in-law. I made breakfast for you. I gave my dad a harsh glare, then grabbed a bun and stormed off. Licia also grabbed a bun and followed right behind me. When I ran, she ran. When I stopped, she stopped. It made me very annoyed. For a full half-month, she followed me every single moment. When I played basketball, she'd sit in the sun and watch me. When I went to the internet cafe, she'd get a computer next to me and watch movies. Even when I went to the bathroom, she would wait for me outside. In no time, the whole school was buzzing. No one could understand why a super scholar, ranked first in the whole school, would spend all day revolving around a slacker at the bottom of the class like me. There were even rumors that since I was a rich second generation, Licia wanted to tie herself to me. Licia ignored all of it, going about her day following me. Until one day, Licia didn't show up at school. Without her constant chatter nearby, I actually felt quite at ease. She still hadn't shown up by the time school ended, because it was the last Friday of the month. We were about to have a 2-day break. With the college entrance exam approaching, some close friends from other classes asked me to go out for a meal together. Otherwise, once university started and we all went our separate ways, there wouldn't be many chances left. Since Licia wasn't following me today, I readily agreed. I followed them to an open-air food stall. It wasn't expensive, and the portions were large. Students love coming to places like this. By the time we finished eating, it was 10 o'clock. Our group stood by the roadside to catch a taxi. Suddenly, a buddy tapped me on the shoulder, then pointed toward the hotel entrance. He said to me, Brother Jian, look quickly, isn't that goddess Licia? Who's been chasing you for the past half-month? I looked in the direction he was pointing. I saw Licia and Du Zeding walking out of the hotel, talking and laughing. As it happened, Licia also saw me at that moment. Her expression stiffened, and then she ran toward me. Du Zeding followed behind her. I looked at her with a cold sneer. We haven't even graduated high school yet, and she's already this impatient, stringing me along on one hand, while getting a hotel room with her childhood sweetheart on the other. If I'm not mistaken, he's only 18 now too, right? Seeing my icy expression, Licia hurriedly explained, Yang Jian, listen to me. Licia, aren't you being hypocritical? I told you before. Since heaven gave you a chance, you should stay with your childhood sweetheart. Why bother clinging to me? Just then, a taxi drove up in front of us. I flagged it down, gave a cold huff, and got in. I told the driver to leave quickly. In the car, tears still uncontrollably fell from my eyes. Why didn't Licia come back with you? I let out a long sigh, then said to my dad, I want to go away for a while. I'll come back when it's time for the entrance exam. Because my tone and expression said everything, My dad didn't say anything more. I bought a plane ticket to the coast myself, because my dad told me my mom's only wish before she died was to see the ocean once. Carrying my mother's urn, I took an overnight flight to Haikou. With my mother's urn, I visited all the coastal cities, finally arriving at the city she always talked about, the Magic City. My mom was from here. She married far away for love. Being able to marry my mom could be said to be the blessing of a lifetime for my dad. Currently, in the cosmetics company under the Yang family, many products are related to my mom. That's why my dad has always wanted our cosmetics to go global. At dusk, I sat on the beach holding my mom's urn, watching the glow of the setting sun. A mother and son were sitting on bamboo chairs nearby. The young boy looked about 15 or 16, appearing as though he'd suffered a heartbreak from young love. He cried to his mother, "Mom, why doesn't the girl I like me back? Will there really be a girl in this world who will like me?" His mother stroked his head and smiled. "Silly boy, the first time I saw you, I was just a girl in my 20s. Hearing those words, my heart trembled, and tears flowed uncontrollably. If my mom knew I had suffered all my life, loving a woman who didn't love me back for 50 years, she would surely be very sad. For a moment, I couldn't hold back any longer. Tears mixed with snot. "Mom, where exactly did I go wrong? I loved her for 50 years. 50 years. Is her heart really made of stone? Can a person like me really not deserve to have love? Mom, I miss you." I hugged my mother's urn, my tears dripping onto it without stopping. Suddenly, the sound of crying also rose beside me. Following the urn in my hands, another person's fingers reached out. "Mom, don't worry. In this life, I will take good care of Yang Jin. I swear." I was stunned. I turned my head to look. It was indeed Li Xia. She gripped my mother's urn with both hands and cried her heart out. I instinctively tried to get up, but she directly hugged me. Weeping, she said, "Yang Jin, give me a chance. Let me finish speaking, okay? After I'm done. If you still want to leave me, I promise I'll never bother you again." I didn't lie. Instead, I held my mother's urn, staring at the sunset nearly gone from the horizon. She hurriedly wiped her tears and said with red eyes, "Yang Jin, I know, in your heart, you've always thought I loved Du Zedong. In our last life and in this one, but you're wrong. Very, very wrong. I never said I liked Du Zedong. I don't even know who told you that. Du Zedong and I are childhood sweethearts. It's true we grew up together. But who says being childhood sweethearts means you have to love him? In our last life, I didn't like you at first, because I didn't want to be a tool for my father's business alliance. So I never gave you a good attitude. But later, after I got pregnant, didn't you notice I treated you much better? When you wanted a divorce, I didn't agree either. I'm a woman. Couldn't you tell I was just being stubborn? The reason I said those things was because I was slowly falling for you. In our last life, the companies of our two families pressed down on me until I couldn't breathe. I often had to make time to go abroad to play the violin. It was so exhausting. I knew you were good to me, but every time I came back exhausted, I just wanted to lie down and rest. And I really didn't like those designer bags. Jewelry. Didn't you notice that the ring and bracelet I wore were the ones you bought me the first time we went shopping? When she said that, I suddenly remembered. Even though both our families were very wealthy, she never wore the expensive jewelry I bought her. She had always been wearing the ones I bought her at a roadside stall the first time. Seeing me stunned, she continued, "Spending decades together slowly. Even an iceberg would melt, let alone someone who treated me as well as you did. Before you passed away in our last life, you asked if I ever loved you. I hesitated for a moment, but that hesitation wasn't because I didn't love you. I'm just not good at expressing myself. All along, even as I grew old, my mouth was stubborn. At that time, I was thinking about how to organize my words. But as you spoke, Li Xia started crying and kept reaching out to thump me, though not very hard. Who told you to die so fast? Without my permission. How could you die? I hadn't even said it yet and you were gone. At that time, I wanted to tell you that I love you. I really love you. I, Li Xia, love you, Yang Jin. The day you passed away, I cried all night. I eventually cried myself to sleep. When I woke up again, I found I had been reborn. In this life, I won't wait for you to find me. I will take the initiative to find you. But you bastard. You either snapped at me or yelled at me, and you were so cold to me. That day after basketball, I realized you were reborn too. I know in our last life, because of me, you were very tired. But wasn't I tired too? I gave birth to 2 sons and 2 daughters for you. And I also helped you manage the Young family company. Couldn't you understand me? As she spoke, she threw herself into my arms and dissolved into tears. As I listened to her account, I slowly recalled our past life together. Although she had always been lukewarm toward me, she was very family-oriented. When she became a big name, she never failed to give the Young family a helping hand. Apart from being cold to me, everything else seemed fine. Looking at Licia crying uncontrollably in my arms, I let out a sigh and placed my hand on her back to soothe her. After quite a while, she felt a bit better and lifted her head. What happened at the hotel wasn't what you thought. Du Zeding's grandparents came from the county. Because there wasn't enough room at home, I took them to the hotel to get a room. Du Zeding was just coming along with me. And my relationship with Du Zeding has always been ordinary. We grew up as childhood sweethearts, but there was never any romantic feeling. Du Zeding only treats me as an older sister. If you don't believe me, come back to our hometown with me right now. My childhood playmates and friends, and my parents, they all know. In our last life, I had heard others say that his parents had broken him and his childhood sweetheart up to make her marry me, but I never went to check or ask. This was also a major knot in my heart. Seeing me hesitate, Licia pulled out her phone and made a call. She shouted into the phone, "Get over here right now." Du Zeding came running over eagerly, from behind a trash can not far away. "Sister Shia." Licia directly hugged me to claim her rights and said, "He's your brother-in-law." Du Zeding seemed somewhat afraid of Licia. He hurriedly called out to me, brother-in-law. Then, under Du Zeding's explanation, I learned that his parents rarely supervised him. If it weren't for Licia, Du Zeding wouldn't just be a punk youth now, he'd be a street thug. Furthermore, Du Zeding already has someone he likes. It's at a KTV he often visits. The owner's daughter is the same age as him. The two of them agreed to get married when they reached the right age. I finally understood completely. In our last life, when marriage was mentioned many times, Licia had asked me to go with her. At that time, I was acting out of spite and didn't go. And the person getting married was that KTV owner's daughter. At first, the owner didn't agree to her daughter dating someone as irresponsible as Du Zeding. She kept blocking them. So later, Du Zeding even went back to school and got into an ordinary university. Only then did the owner agree. Once everything was cleared up, the block in my heart seemed to vanish. Licia looked at me and said very seriously, "In this life, I don't plan to touch the violin. I only want to fulfill our dad's wish, to take our mom's cosmetics global. Yang Jian, can you give me this chance?" I was in a great mood. Holding my mother's urn, I stood up and walked directly toward the hotel. Seeing that Licia didn't follow, I looked back at her as she stood there, staring at my back. I called out, "Let's go back to the room. The beach is very cold at night. Don't let yourself catch a cold." A huge smile broke out on Licia's face. She immediately ran over and linked her arm with mine, resting her head on my shoulder. At this time, Du Zeding eagerly came up as well. Sister, brother-in-law, I can't get a room with my ID yet. You guys have a room, what about me?" Licia just pointed into the distance and said with a mischievous laugh, "There's a bridge over there. You can make do for now. Tonight is the most important night for me and your brother-in-law. I don't have time for you." Shia hurriedly pulled me as she ran toward the hotel. Several months later, I looked with a smile at the 2 admission notices in my hand. I didn't get into a top-tier university, I just got into a very ordinary one. After all, with only 3 months to review, even as a reborn person, there was nothing I could do. And this was only because of Licia's help in the final stretch. Otherwise, it would have been a second-tier school at best. As for Licia, being in a sweet relationship with me during the final stretch, her mood and state were excellent, and she directly became the top scholar in the city. But she didn't go to the country's best university, Qingbei. Instead, she chose to go to the same university as me. Licia gave me a kiss from the side. "In this life, I'll give you 2 more children." "Okay," I nodded. Having loved her well for 50 years, what harm is there in loving her for another 50?